Tarnopolsky. Noga, I mean, the conflict is almost 2 years old, and the biggest, most immediate question right now would be why now, when a potential deal had looked like it had been on the table?
Right. Alex, a potential deal has more or less been on the table and been rejected by one side or another since January. The various deals that we have been referring to as the Witkoff proposals, the Witkoff plans, have all been one version or another of the same deal that the Biden and Trump teams together cobbled up in January. What changed now was the announcement just a few days ago by Donald Trump on his Truth Social network of a new plan in which he personally offered Hamas guarantees that Israel would not return to war. But as far as I know, the plan was not really much more than that Truth Social post. And so it's unclear how close we were, and it's unclear how close we are to any possible end to this almost 2-year-old war. But the question of why now is absolutely a top question in Israel this evening. Why now, when the remaining hostages are known to be so ill and so incapable of continuing to handle their condition? The opposition leader in Israel, Yair Golan, asked if the government even took their plight into consideration before making this decision. And it is striking, of course, that both Hamas and the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, have been unwilling to really define what they would accept, what conditions they would accept for an end to this so far endless war.
We've touched upon it a little bit. Can you tell us a bit more about how the hostage families have been reacting to this strike in Qatar?
The families of hostages have been reacting, as one would accept, with absolute terror. The Forum of Hostage Families put out a statement that reminded everyone of testimony from hostages who've been freed, who described the particular viciousness meted out to them in torture by their Hamas captors when Israel attacked Hamas leaders and they were still in captivity. Different family members have issued various statements. Einav Tsangauker, at this point an anti-Netanyahu activist whose son has been held hostage for this entire time, put out a video statement in which she said she was simply shaking with fear, and that she fears that the Israeli Prime Minister, by ordering this attack, basically signed a death sentence for her son. I think it's important to add that Israeli opinion across the board is at best very mixed. We discovered tonight that Israel's entire top security echelon opposed this operation at this time. The military leadership of Israel told the government that it felt it was worthwhile to still attempt negotiations at this stage and that it wasn't the right time for this operation. So given the international condemnation and the local domestic condemnation, more and more it seems that Netanyahu and his cabinet simply have decided to go it alone.
Now, you speak of international condemnation, but when Prime Minister Netanyahu was announcing this attack, it was hinted that the main ally, United States, was on side. But when we heard from the White House spokesperson, it seems that that was not exactly the case, was it?
That's right. It seems that for the first time in a very long time, the United States is actually aligned with the foreign policy opinions of its Western allies. All of them have condemned Israel's violation of Qatari sovereignty. All of them simply failed to mention Hamas, except for the United States, that decried this operation, that said this is an unfortunate incident, but at the same time said that eliminating Hamas's leadership is a worthy goal. Other statements simply ignored Hamas. But the cracks showing between Israel and the United States are interesting. Israel was very quick to announce that it had informed the United States ahead of time. But listening to the White House briefing, it's unclear whether Israel did so. In fact, the White House spokesperson said that the military the U.S. military had informed the president that this operation was underway. It's unclear whether the U.S. military discovered it through their own intelligence or whether Israel contacted the military. Qatar, that was informed by the United States, said that it was, quote unquote, warned as the bombs began falling. So it's quite murky right now, but cracks are showing in this very close relationship.
Noga Tarnopolsky, thank you very much, our correspondent there in Jerusalem.